Yo, what up, C10 Nation? This is Ronnie from C10 Talk. C10 Talk is one of those podcast things. We talk C10 trucks, tech, and people. That's right, people. Because it's the people that make the scene so rad-ass. The trucks are cool, but the people are cooler. You can check out the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, c10talk.com, and anywhere else you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thanks for checking out our latest video and being part of the C10 Nation.
With being friends with and having been in this space and seeing the caliber of vehicles that come out of these shops that that I know, I'm like, man, that's what I want to hold my vehicles to a standard to. And I'm just like, I don't have the pockets of the clients that these guys have. So I'm just like, I'm holding these high, almost unrealistic expectations of what my car should be to a degree. And with my car, I'm so hard on how it's turned out and how it looks. Don't get me wrong, I love the car. It's a car I plan on never getting rid of. Like, I've actually had a crazy high offer on it once, and I turned it down. And people call me crazy for it because they're like, you could have built another one, but it's not the same. And like, I'm actually talking with a shop right now about having it sent off to be repainted. Something that I've wanted to do for a long time, because the paint is like one of the things. Every time I look at the car, I'm just like disgusted, because I'm just like, because it didn't get painted right the first time. And I just look at it, I'm like, man, so many people tell me, they're like, man, you got the baddest G Body, or you got the baddest Monte Carlo. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. Like, I've seen some bad G Bodies. I've seen some bad, whatever. My car doesn't hold a candle to them. I think it's just the standpoint of, like, the provenance of my car and the story behind it. And not to sound conceited, but maybe just because it's mine, I don't know. But I just, I have like the standard about it that I want it to be to. And, once it gets there, I will be, head over heels and over the moon about it. But right now, it's just, I constantly am just like, I want it to be better.
Well, I think everybody does, and we want
Oh,
to
yeah, for sure.
push that, right? But I almost think that that's even another reason why, like, there's a fine there. I feel like there's a happy, I don't know, I look at like Derek from Vice Grip Garage, and he just embraces junk, right? So then you have the value of embracing junk, and then you have like where you're just constantly trying to make everything, better, right?
Mhm.
And I think though, like with our cars, we all want things to be better, and I don't know. It's a hard balance to say, like, in the classic truck world, for example, like patina. I almost feel like, hear me out on this. And I think the G Body world and your Monte Carlo, is it 87? What year is that?
84.
84. Like, it's got that midnight blue. It's got that crisp look. I almost feel like in the classic truck world right now, see what you think about this. I think the recipe is you take an OG classic car, if you can find it, or truck, and you embrace the body and the paint,
Mm-hmm.
or the gapping, whatever. But what's happened is you're going to spend 2 to 3 years in paint prison. Now you have an opportunity to get your car painted. Somebody's going to turn that into a marketability. So you've got a little squeeze there, because they're not going to drag their feet for years and years. And the
Right.
other thing you could do, depending on money, is, hey, I'm going to have fun with a second car or something else I've always wanted to build, and then while my car's in the shop getting painted.
Mhm.
But I feel like, let's say you got 100 grand, and I know that seems crazy, but you take for, obviously I'm in trucks. Okay, you take a square body truck, whatever, and you find it, and then you make the chassis just like off the charts. You give it a 6.0 or 6.2. You redo the interior, but you leave the paint and body alone, and you embrace that. So you have to find that level of embrace. I just think it's funny where we get so carried away, and we lock it down in paint and body. Okay, 2 years paint prison, whatever. Well, then the problem is, do you even want to drive the damn thing?
Yeah.
Are you so stressed because you just spent so much time and money in paint and body, and paint and body's just gotten just out of hand, right? 20 to 30 to 40 to $50,000 in 2 to 3 years of it being locked down. Well,
Mm-hmm.
now you're like, dude, find that OG Monte Carlo, find some T-tops, whatever that car is, they're still out there.
Yeah.
And then you just take that chassis, that motor, that interior. I mean, dude, some of those interiors, you find them, they're like $30,000 freaking Malibus and Monte Carlos, and it's crazy. And I
Mhm.
almost like you're like, dude, I'm leaving this interior. I want it to smell like grandmama.
Dude, no, you have no idea. I mean, like my Monte Carlo, I think is gonna. I wanted it to be like my Pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it to. I've always had this pedestal that I've always wanted it to be on, but the time frames and the series of events that's happened in the time frame that I've owned it has always kept it from being what I've wanted it to be. And so I'm at the point now with it where I'm okay with however long it takes to a degree because I've fulfilled the obligations, I should say, to all the sponsors that I've had. I've had this car for almost 6 years now. So like that part of it's done, right? That was what I was always rushing to do because I had to get it to shows. I had to make content. So I had to fulfill those obligations. Now I'm to the point where it's like, all right, I want this car to be how I've dreamed of it to be from the beginning. I have no time frame now. I could care less. Obviously, I want to drive the car. Don't get me wrong. Like this summer, I'd like to be cruising the car. But I've gone to this point so far to where I don't care if it takes another year so long as it's exactly how I want it to be. Like right now it's running like absolute crap, right? So I got to get it retuned. I got to figure out what's going on. I got to get it, running back like it was before. I got to put a new transmission in it because I burnt the transmission up in it. And then I got to get it painted, you know, and to your point when you said, am I going to even want to drive it after it gets painted? Yeah, I will, because I'm going to take all those precautionary steps. I'm going to get it, PPF it. I'm going to, ceramic coat it. I'm going to do all the things. And it's going to have so much clear in it that if I do get a rock chip or if I do get some swirls in it, I just go get it, go get it buffed or cut and you're right back in business. That's the thing I can't do right now. You know what I mean? So, I will put battle scars on it again, I'm sure, but I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna do it willingly, knowing that like, okay, I have some security blanket in the paint to where I can get some of this fixed or it'll survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what you do is you got to look, you got to turn everything around and say, I'm no different than my community. I'm no different than my audience. They 6 years ago they built a car and now they want to upgrade it because we're so again back to being fortunate in our community. Holly's coming up with something new every freaking day, and there's new products and chassis and suspensions and new components. And oh, do I want to coil over it now? When I 6 years ago or 8 years ago when I came up with it and I built it, and I think the key though is, do I want to build it out of my own pocket so I don't have the stress of meeting that timeline and the crunch, and I want to do it
Mhm.
just right. But I think there is a happy medium, especially when you have 2.4 million followers. Those companies are they're gonna throw whatever at you,
Yeah.
and you just have to say, hey, listen, I don't know what your expectation is, but this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give you this, but it might not be done in 6 months because I want to slow play this build.
Yeah.
But don't forget that there's people out there just exactly like you, just like me, where like I built my truck orange slice and I'm like, dude, I would love if I had a bunch of money to break that whole thing down. And I wouldn't change it that much, but I would change things and I would do things, and that's an evolution. And I think we're so spoiled because people will just be like, I'm gonna sell it, I'm gonna go to the next project. I'm gonna sell it, I'm gonna go to the next project. But if it's like, dude, this is my girl, this is my one and only, then you might break it down, and it might be one of those things that it's also a fun journey for you, and the audience is watching because they're going to tune in whether they have a car or not, or they're going to tune
Yeah.
in because they like you, they like your content. But let's say 20% of them, they're going through the same shit. They're like, dude, I don't know, I don't want to do that, and it drives, it runs, I don't want to break it down. And I
Mhm.
think I think the number one thing for my audience and your audience too is I always just tell people, and I'm dealing with it right now. I got a Blazer that's been sitting, and it's just like you have to find that balance because before you know it, it's 5 years later, and
Yeah.
you're like that's why I always think the auctions do so well because people don't want to wait. We're in a
People don't
non-wait.
hate, yeah, people hate to
People got
wait.
money, and they're like, nope, I don't want to wait. I'll buy that
Yeah.
son of a bitch right now. I'll spend.
Yeah.
I'll give it over to my buddy Chester. He can spend a month on it and clean it up and fix all the little things, and now I can run it anytime I want. It's not broke
Yeah.
down. It's not this. So
100%. And I was at one point before I had the Monte Carlo built, I turned wrenches on it, but before I had it sent off and had it built and done up, I was under that same mindset. I was like, man, I don't have the patience for this. Like I don't have the time to just like to sit in like have a car and it takes you forever to get it done, right? But as I've gone along, I actually enjoy the process now,
Oh,
weirdly.
it's therapeutic, bro.
I actually enjoy the process. And I mean, I think it helps that, obviously that they're not my dailies. They're something to just have fun in. So it's not, there's no real stress, particularly now. Now, there was stress in the beginning because, yeah, I was under time crunches and had to get the car done and whatnot. But going back to your point, like, yes, this is the car that I want to have is like a Pinnacle. This is the car that everybody knows me for. And I really wanted to truly live up to the hype that everybody gives it. Like the car photographs phenomenally, photographs and videos phenomenally. Um, but it's like a good 10 footer, and I don't want it to be that. I want it to be a car you get up on and you're like, damn, this car is actually really pretty. Like the paint is deep, the gaps are good, there's no, whatever. Like, I want it to be that car.